First I was afraid, I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side.
At first I was afraid. I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong. And I was wrong. And I learned how to get along. So you're back from outer space. I just walked in to find you here with that sad look upon your face. I should have changed that stupid lock. I should have made you leave your key. If I'd known for just 1 second you'd be back. Don't bother me. Go now, go. Walk out the door. Just turn around now. Cause you're not welcome anymore. Weren't you the one who tried to help me with goodbye? Did you think I'd crumble? Did you think I'd lay down die? No, not I. I will survive. Oh, as long as I know how to love, I know I'm still alive.
Don't turn around now. You're not welcome anymore.
Hello. I would like to inform you that the film is over. There is nothing else left. Please go. It's not a joke. The film is over. I'm Andy Kaufman. It's the credit roll. There is nothing else left. Please go. Stand up. Leave the cinema. Why are you still here? I'm not joking. Turn off the video clip and start doing something else. Thank you.
In fact, this is the end of the movie.
Actually not, because this is just the beginning of the review of the film The Man on the Moon from 1999, starring Jim Carrey as Andy Kaufman and Tony Clifton also in a dual role. Double pack, you get 2 for the price of 1. And this is an introduction to this film actually, which you can see on the screen, The Man on the Moon. That he pretends that it's over, but it's only the beginning. You ain't seen nothing yet. So as always, buckle up, prepare some snacks, something to drink perhaps, and let's get the ball rolling, shall we?
Thank you.
Wow.
Today I have a pleasure of describing and talking about the film The Man on the Moon from 1999 with Jim Carrey, and we could say that it was his pet project because he wanted to do it for a long time and then it got finally greenlit. There were other actors considered for the role, but Jim Carrey was chosen at the end of the day to play Andy Kaufman, and Tony Curtis, his alter ego, also in the film.
Here's some humor right there. Ah, some humor right there. Okay. Ah.
And it was directed by Milos Forman. And it's such a great spectacle. It's a full-blown drama with some elements of comedy, as you can imagine, because Andy Kaufman, he was a pretty famous or infamous comedian. And it is about his race to stardom, and some people could say that also his fall from grace later on. But he was a peculiar character. He definitely stood out from the crowd with his sense of humor. So he was a kind of a trailblazing hero in this regard in terms of stand-ups. And Jim Carrey, I think that he was the perfect man, the perfect actor to portray that peculiar guy. As peculiar as Andy Kaufman, who was stranger than fiction, that's for sure.
How exciting is that?
And although the storyline may not be exactly faithful to the life of Andy Kaufman, it is still very interesting and gripping, and obviously even if you have a biographical picture, you need to change some things, you need to make some amendments in order for it to be more entertaining and watchable. And this is definitely the case with The Man on the Moon. And it also got Jim Carrey at that time the Golden Globe for acting, but the film somehow, quite surprisingly, was completely ignored at the Oscar ceremony, and this is a very rare occurrence. When a praised film, which also gets the recognition at the Golden Globe ceremony, is completely ignored at the Oscars, and it flies under the radar So that was something atypical, but quite unrightfully so, as many people also claim, especially after so many years. Whether it has developed a cult following this film, I'm not sure.
Oh gosh, so many people to thank. Milos Forman, thank you, sir.
But definitely for the fans of Jim Carrey, it is a treat. If you have never seen it, please give this film a go, because I think that this is Jim Carrey at his best.
It's the story of the man, the myth, the misunderstanding.
Not only Andy Kaufman was known for his sense of humor, but also for his great impersonation of the king, Elvis Presley, which is presented on the screen. That was one of his gimmicks, and I think that even Elvis Presley himself praised it. Maybe he even said that it was the best impersonation he had ever seen at that time. You can imagine Elvis impersonated by somebody, and by such a distinct character as Andy Kaufman in particular, so it would be probably something like this. Wise men say only fools rush in.
Wise men say,
Let's rock, everybody, let's rock. Everybody in the wholesale block was dancing to the jailhouse rock.
Everybody let's rock.
Viva Las Vegas. How I wish now there were more than 24 hours in a day. Dum, 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 dum.
Viva Las Vegas. Viva.
And Jim Carrey himself is perfect at impersonations. You should see his impersonation of Clint Eastwood, Elvis Presley in here, and other famous celebrities, actors. This is fantastic. He really has talent for that. A great impersonator, and actually he made fun of Clint Eastwood even in front of him at some ceremony.
I love that tape.
So probably everybody apart from Eastwood started to crack up, because that was hilarious, just in front of the guy. Can you imagine the cheek?
Not many people know this, but Clint Eastwood was one of my first supporters in the business.
But the story of Andy Kaufman and his incredible life is a bittersweet tale, because there are not only ups but also many downs. His race to fame is quite rapid, but also there is a descent later on, and he tries to rejuvenate the interest of the audience with him, but the problem was that he was always a joke maker. You never knew when the joke started and the joke finished, so not everybody was in on it, and that was the problem. Even about serious matters, like even dying, nobody was sure whether he would make yet another joke or whether it was serious, and that's also one of the subplots, the threads of the film. And it reaches a very interesting conclusion. It gives you something to think about. Like I said, it's a bittersweet cinema, it's an exponent of the melodrama genre, but it is just great. And the comedic elements, they serve as a comic relief, we could say, in this twisted narrative. Because Andy Kaufman, like many people say, he was even an underrated genius of comedy.
You know, tonight I had to come from...
But this type of humor definitely needs to be up your alley for you to enjoy his shows and his performances.
If there is a woman here tonight who can come up here and prove me wrong, I will shut my mouth and pay her $500.
Like, for instance, one of his shenanigans or his sketches include standing up in front of the audience, playing a song from a tape, and then just singing some parts of it, so mostly being silent, because according to him, comedy was in silence, and it was about good timing. So it was just nothing happening, and then something like, during the mouse song, "Here I come to save the day," and then nothing again.
When he hears this mighty sound, here I come to save the day.
Trying to muster up courage, of course faking it, and then being stressed, and then "Here I come to save the day." And it kept going like that, so that was the core of the joke. But apparently people found it funny. but he would get angry if somebody didn't understand his humor, because then he could start reading Shakespeare to the whole audience for 90 minutes straight on, just to tire them up, because they had the cheek not to appreciate his art. Quite an interesting approach towards the audience.
Here I come to save the day.
But remember, without the audience, celebrities, actors, comedians don't exist. So you have to also appreciate them. And in the film there's also Andy Kaufman's alter ego.
Andy, we don't want the viewers to get out of their chairs.
Tony Clifton, who is a Las Vegas comedian, and he pulls no punches with his jokes. He criticizes everybody, he insults everybody, and also his singing is quite something. For example, his rendition of I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor, so it goes a little bit like this. Let me make some cinema magic right now.
At first I was afraid. I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong. And I grew strong. And I learned how to get along. So you're back from outer space. I just walked in to find you here with a sad look upon your face. I should have changed that stupid knock. I should have made you leave your key. If I'd known for just 1 second you'd be back. Don't bother me. Go now, go. Walk out the door. Just turn around now, cause you're not welcome anymore. Where is you the one who tried to help me with goodbye? Did you think I'd crumble? Did you think I'd lay down die? No, not I. I will survive. Oh, as long as I know how to love, I know I'm still alive.
And that was a short sample of what it looks like. Tony Clifton in practice, singing. That was rather uttering the words in some peculiar, strange manner than singing. And if you add it up to his otherwise obnoxious performance, so you can get it that being insulted in the front of the audience when you are a member of the audience may not be the most pleasant thing for you to experience. And that's why many people took issue with his sense of humor, Tony Clifton's sense of humor. So Andy Kaufman was strange, but Tony Clifton was just an obnoxious, horrible, off-putting guy. But some people enjoy this kind of a show. Regarding the financial results of the film, you have to remember that that was the heyday, the prime time of Jim Carrey. It was a string of hits, one success after another, Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, and later on many other successful motion pictures. That's why probably the budget of the film was $82 million, but alas, it was a flop at the box office. It was a debacle, because it grossed only around $47 million. That was a spectacular failure, unfortunately. For some reason, people just didn't flock to the cinemas to see Jim Carrey in his rendition of Andy Kaufman. And that's a shame, because you can see that he put a lot of heart and effort into this project. It was his dream to make it true. He did it, but right now it's highly regarded by the critics. But even back in the day, I think that the reviews must have been very good. So that's the only thing, that sometimes if a picture is good, it doesn't translate into the box office results. And this is one of the best examples of this unwritten rule, that sometimes, just like in comedy, it could be only and mostly about timing.
Just a little friendly conversation, George.
And here we have some pieces of trivia on the film The Man on the Moon. The first one: Jim Carrey refused to be called by his real name during the entire production. To get into the part, he insisted on being dealt with as Andy Kaufman at all times, on and off the set. And this is what I call real method acting, but I know that it's not very popular, it's not very liked by the co-stars, co-partners in a film, but it helps you to be fully immersed into the role. So on the one hand I understand it, but on the other hand it could lead to some shenanigans, to some issues, to some conflicts and tensions. But Jim Carrey, apparently he knew what he was doing, because he's spot on in his performance as Andy Kaufman and Tony Clifton.
You look like you could use a little drink up there. Come on, get out of here!
Another piece of trivia regarding the potential candidates for the role of Andy Kaufman has it like this. Nicolas Cage and were considered for the lead role of Andy Kaufman, Cage refused to audition and was passed over. Both of them were also big names at that time, but I can't picture them. It would be a completely different portrait. Had they starred in this role, either of them, it would have been a completely different film, and we wouldn't have this pleasure right now to see Jim Carrey in his one of the most iconic but underrated performances, alas. So like I'm here to promote, propagate the obscure, the unknown, the underappreciated, and The Man on the Moon and Jim Carrey's role could be considered one of those. And another piece of trivia, it would be 7 years before Milos Forman would helm another film after the film's disappointing box office performance, and that would be Goya's Ghost from 2006. So it took him 7 years to come back to the business, to recuperate, maybe to rekindle the passion towards filmmaking. Like I said, that's a shame that such a bad experience could make you or break you, and in this case it was a bit like the latter, but thankfully he came back.
I'm going to abandon her again.
Because he was a very renowned director. He's known from such films as, for example, One Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest with Jack Nicholson. Then we had Hair, the famous musical. Coming up next, Amadeus, Valmont, and for instance, The People vs. Larry Flint with Woody Harrelson. Yet another great semi or biographical motion picture.
American flag you have on that. If you're gonna treat me like a baby, I'm gonna act like one.
But The Man of the Moon, you can see that it's got the recognition it deserves, even on IMDb, because the average score is right now 7.4 out of 10, and there are many positive comments in the comments section on IMDb. So you can imagine that people must like it, otherwise it wouldn't fare so well. So that's great, that although a film may flop at the box office later on, it can find its appreciation with the audience at the end of the proverbial day. And the final piece of trivia, a pretty interesting one, it's about the director Milos Forman. And according to IMDb, at one point the studio wanted to fire director Milos Forman, however Jim Carrey said that if Forman was fired, he would depart the film as well. And it's fantastic that Jim Carrey had the courage to stand by Milos Forman, the director of the film. Apparently the filmmaker had full support of Jim Carrey, a fan, if not the most devoted fan of Andy Kaufman, and that's great because this synergy, the chemistry, you can see that Jim Carrey is great in front of the screen, but Milos Forman delivers behind the camera at the helm of the project. So that was a great combination, and kudos to Jim Carrey that he really put up a fight for Milos Forman not to have been fired. To be honest, it hasn't been the first time that I The Man on the Moon, because I'm sure that I must have seen it on the telly sometime in the past, but probably, perhaps, recently it's been the first time when I've paid my full attention, undivided attention to it, and like I said, the picture is very gripping, the story is great, it presents many ups and downs in the show business, at that sometimes how easy it was to break in and to enter this, but also how easily it was to fall from grace. And also there is Andy Kaufman's romantic life, his relationship, many shenanigans throughout the whole story, and when he tries to turn everything into a joke, for better or worse, and it comes to a very interesting, a little bit maybe hard, but also to some point uplifting conclusion, and I would suggest you to give it a go. I have to admit that melodramas, biographical pictures are up my alley, so this is my cup of tea, so I could be biased, I could be partial regarding that, but generally it's just a good motion picture, well filmed, with great production values, a fantastic director behind the camera, a great actor in front of the camera, giving his best, delivering the goods as Andy Kaufman and also Tony Clifton in a dual role, And the supporting cast, including Danny DeVito, for example, this is also a nice touch. The music, the soundtrack, everything is there. So it's a big budget production, although it may like a toned down film, it was definitely not. Because you could see that the money had been well spent on the props, on the sets, on recreating the times, that era, and it shows. Maybe not at first, not on the surface, but the more you are immersed into the film, the more you start appreciating it and all the production values. If you have a chance to give it, if you are hesitant because it's not your topic, you don't like comedians, this is a great drama, melodrama.
I had it taped down and everything. I hope I didn't offend you.
I'm here, aren't I?
Hey, want to go to Memphis and get married?
With some funny moments, hilarious lines, great characters, and if anything, then it's definitely worth checking out just for Jim Carrey alone. It comes highly recommended, not only by myself, but also, I suppose, by many other critics.
Experience Jim Carrey's most brilliant performance, now on DVD, in what critics are calling the best film of the year.
And now very briefly about this DVD release. As you can see, this is the front cover, this is the spine, and here is the back. It's a very sleek presentation, it looks great. Maybe it was even the main poster of the film at the time of its release, I'm not sure. But you can see that Jim Carrey was awarded the Golden Globe Award at that time, skipped completely at the Oscars unfortunately. And regarding the DVD quality, it is serviceable, it is acceptable. Please bear in mind that it's only the mere DVD format, so don't expect anything great, eye-popping. But for what it is great. And I think that only recently has it got a proper Blu-ray release, but if you have it in your DVD collection, you may just stick with this one. Like I said, the quality is pretty nice, it's pretty crisp, even in here maybe you can see it, and this is great. And by the way, in this scene we have one of Andy Kaufman's shenanigans, so he claims that women are worse, and he fights them in a ring, like a wrestling match.
No chokehold, I told you!
So you never know whether it's staged or not, how far he can go to get the attention of the audience. So this is always a guessing game with Andy Kaufman in this film. This is another interesting thing about this motion picture. But the DVD quality, this is the Polish release and it comes also recommended. And the picture is great, so even if the quality were bad, but it's not. It is very good for the format. It would still be just a good motion picture, a good flick to watch.
On the Moon, now available on DVD, exclusively from Universal Studios Home Video.
As always, thank you very much for your attention, guys. I hope that you have enjoyed my review of the film The Man on the Moon from 1999, starring Jim Carrey. If you have liked it, please give the video the thumbs up, please share it with your friends, and if you could also comment on my review on the film itself, on Jim Carrey, the development of his career and current roles, that would be great too. I'm looking forward to hearing you guys. If you are not subscribed to this channel, maybe you could consider subscribing to it, and that would be it. Thank you very much. This time you may really leave, you may really close your laptop or turn on your mobile phone, because this is over. This is the end.
Thank you, and until next time, bye.
I decided to cut out all of the baloney. Now the movie is much shorter.
And The Man of the Moon, I hope that but The Man of the Moon, you can see that.
You know, we should all treat each other like brothers and sisters. So everybody put your arm around the person sitting next to you and sway back and forth in rhythm to the music. Come on, everybody.